Most people spend their entire lives waiting for confidence, waiting for clarity, waiting for permission for the perfect moment. And while they wait, time moves forward without them. The truth is brutal but simple. There is no perfect moment. There never was, and there never will be. The idea that everything needs to be aligned before you begin is nothing more than fear wearing the mask of logic. Action is not the reward for clarity. Action is the source of clarity. You do not see the full path before you take the first step. You see the path because you took the step. When you look at anyone who has built something meaningful, you will never find a straight line or a perfectly timed beginning. You will find confusion, doubt, mistakes, wrong turns when moments would have felt like the smartest option. What separated them from everyone else was not talent or luck. It was the willingness to move forward without guarantees. They did not wait to feel ready. They decided to become ready through action. Fear thrives in stillness. The longer you stand still, the louder the voice of doubt becomes. It starts convincing you that you need more information, more resources, more approval, when in reality what you need is movement. The moment you act, even in a small, imperfect way, fear begins to lose its grip. Momentum is created through movement, and momentum changes everything. Clarity is built in motion. You learn what works by doing, and you learn what does not work by failing. Every attempt gives you feedback. Every feedback sharpens your direction. Waiting keeps you stuck in your head, but action forces you into reality where real growth happens. You stop imagining outcomes and start dealing with facts, and facts are far more useful than fantasies. Most people misunderstand responsibility, think responsibility is a burden, something heavy that limits freedom, something that adds pressure and blame. In reality, responsibility is the doorway to power. The moment you accept that your life is the result of your choices, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the architect of your future. Until that moment, no amount of motivation, inspiration, or advice will change anything. Blaming feels good in the short term. It protects the ego. It allows you to explain why things are not working with having to change. You can blame your past, your family, your education, your economy, or other people, and for a while, it will give you comfort. But that comfort comes at a terrible price, because every excuse you accept takes a piece of your power away. If something is not your fault, then it is also not in your control, and a life out of your control will never be a life you are proud of. The truth is uncomfortable, but is liberating. You may not be responsible for what happened to you, but you are always responsible for what you do next. The past cannot be changed, but the meaning you give it can. When you take responsibility, you stop asking why this happened to me and start asking what can I do, what I have. That shift in thinking changes everything. Responsibility forces honesty. It does not allow you to hide behind excuses or stories. It demands that you look at your habits, your routines, and your routines and your decisions with outlining yourself. It asks you to admit when you are procrastinating, when you are avoiding discomfort, and when you are choosing short-term pleasure over long-term growth. That this level of honesty is rare, and that is why real progress is rare. Excuses are comfortable, but they are chains. They keep you tied to the same outcomes year after year.
Yeah.
When you say, I do not have time, what you really mean is, this is not a priority. When you say, I'm ready, what you really mean is, I am afraid. Responsibility strips these excuses of their disguise and exposes the real issue, and only then can you address it. Taking responsibility does not mean being harsh or cruel to yourself. It means being clear. It means understanding that you are both the problem and the solution. That realization is powerful because it means you do not need permission to change. You do not need someone else to fix your life. You can start where you are with what you have and take the next right step. People often think discipline is about being strict or harsh, but true discipline is actually an act of self-respect. It is you keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it is uncomfortable, you do. But self-trust is far more powerful than temporary motivation. Discipline turns hard things into habits. What feels difficult at first automatic through repetition. You no longer rely on willpower because your environment, your routines, and your systems do the work for you. You wake up and do the work not because you are inspired, but because it is simply what you do. But this is how consistency is created. Motivation asks for results quickly. Discipline is patient. It understands slow and often invisible. It focuses on daily actions rather than dramatic outcomes. When you commit to discipline, you stop chasing instant gratification and start investing in long-term progress. That mindset separates who start from those who finish. Life will test your discipline. There will be days when you are tired, distracted, discouraged, or overwhelmed. Those days are not obstacles. They are the proving ground. Anyone can act when it is easy. Discipline reveals who you are when it is hard. Each time you choose discipline in a difficult moment, you strengthen it for the future. The strongest people are not the most motivated. They are the most consistent. They understand that success is not built on intensity, but on reliability. They show up when no one is watching. They do the boring work. They repeat the basics long after others get distracted by something new. When discipline becomes your foundation, becomes a bonus instead of a requirement. On good days, motivation makes the work enjoyable. On bad days, discipline makes the work possible. This balance creates unstoppable momentum. If you want to change your life, stop asking how to stay motivated. Start asking how to stay disciplined. Decide your standards. Create routines that support them. Remove excuses. Keep showing up because motivation starts the journey, but discipline is what takes you to the finish line. Every action you take is firstborn in your mind, long form before it ever shows up in your life. The thoughts you repeat quietly become beliefs, and the beliefs shape your decisions, your habits, and ultimately your results. Your mind is constantly telling a story about who you are and what is possible for you, and whether you realize it or not, you are living inside that story every single day. Most people never question the narrative in their head. They accept it as truth simply because it has been repeated for a year. They say things like, I'm not good at this. People like me do not succeed. This is just how I am. And over time, those statements harden into identity. Once something becomes identity, your brain works to protect it. Even if that identity is limiting and painful, your internal dialogue also determines how you respond to failure. If your story says failure means you are not enough, then every setback will crush you. But if your story says failure is part of the process, then setbacks become lessons instead of verdicts. The same event produces two completely different outcomes based solely on the story attached to it. You cannot outperform your self-image for long. If deep down you believe you are undeserving, incapable, or behind, you will sabotage progress, turn to what feels familiar. That is why lasting change requires identity change. You must become someone who sees effort as normal, growth as expected, and discomfort as a signal that you are moving forward. This does not happen overnight. Rewriting your internal story is a daily practice. It happens when you challenge negative thoughts instead of obeying them. It happens when you act in alignment with who you want to become, even when your mind resists. Over time, the old story loses its power because it is no longer supported by your actions. When you change the story in your head, the world outside responds differently. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Your decisions become bolder, your habits stronger, and your resilience deeper. The life you want is built from the inside out, and it all begins with the story you choose to tell yourself. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life, and because of that misunderstanding, it stops more people than any lack of talent ever could. Must people see failure as a final judgment, a sign that they are not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough? When failure is viewed this way, it becomes something to fear and avoid, and avoidance slowly kills progress. But failure is not a verdict on who you are. It is information about what you tried. Every meaningful skill, achievement, or transformation is built on a foundation of failed attempts. Start strong. No one gets it right to start the first time. Progress is messy, uneven, and often frustrating. The people who succeed are not the ones who fail less. They are the ones who learn faster. They treat failure as data, not drama. When you remove emotion from failure, it becomes incredibly useful. A failed attempt tells you what does not work, where your understanding is incomplete, and what needs to be adjusted. That information is valuable, but only if you are willing to look at it honestly. If you take failure personally, you will either quit or make excuses. If you take it objectively, you will improve. Most people fear failure because they attach it to their identity. They say, I failed, therefore I am a failure. That single belief is destructive. Failure is an event, not a label. You can fail at something and still be capable, intelligent, and worthy. Separating who you are from what happened is essential for growth. Failure also exposes gaps, not flaws. A gap is something that can be effort, learning, and time. A flaw feels permanent, and that belief leads to helplessness. When you see failure as feedback, you stop asking, what is wrong with me, and start asking, what is missing? That question leads to solutions instead of shame. There is also a cost to us to avoiding failure that most people never consider. When you play it safe, you avoid short-term discomfort, but you guarantee long-term regret. You stay in familiar patterns that feel secure, but slowly drain your potential. The pain of trying and failing is sharp but temporary. The pain of never trying is dull but permanent. Every failure builds resilience if you let it. It teaches you how to recover, how to adapt, and how to persist. These skills cannot be learned through success alone. They are forged in moments when things do not go as planned. Each time you stand back up, you reinforce the belief that you can survive setbacks, and that belief is powerful. Failure also refines your direction. Many people start with a vague goal, and through failed attempts, they gain clarity. You discover what you truly want, what you are willing to sacrifice, and what does not matter as much as you thought. Failure cuts away illusions and leaves behind truth. The only failure that truly matters is the one that teaches you nothing. If you quit at the first setback, you waste the lesson. If you blame others, you miss the insight. But if you try, you reflect, and try again becomes an essential part of progress. When you accept failure as feedback, fear loses its power. You stop seeing obstacles as threats and start seeing them as training. Growth becomes inevitable, not because the path is easy, but because you are willing to learn. Success is not built by avoiding failure. It is built by listening to, learning from it, and moving forward stronger every time. Most people believe confidence is something you either have or you do not, as if it is a personality trait reserved for a lucky few. They wait to feel confident before they speak up, take risks to opportunities. This waiting keeps them trapped because confidence does not come before action. From action, it comes as built, not discovered. When you look closely, confidence is simply familiarity with effort. It is the resulting on certainty and surviving it. The first time you try something new, fear is loud because your brain has no evidence that you can handle it. The second time, fear is still there but weaker. Over time, repeated action sends a clear message to your mind. You can do hard things. That message becomes confidence. Avoidance has the opposite effect. Every time you avoid something because you feel unready, you teach your brain that the justified with the fear was justified. Avoidance strengthens doubt. Action weakens it. Even imperfect action creates proof, and proof is what the brain believes. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move forward despite fear. People appear confident, still feel nervous, uncertain, and vulnerable. The difference is that they do not let those feelings decide their behavior. They act first, and their emotions catch up later. Small actions matter more than big declarations. You do not build confidence by telling yourself you are confident. You build it by doing things that challenge you slightly and consistently. Each small win adds a layer of trust. Over time, that trust compounds into belief. Many people sabotage confidence by comparing themselves to others. They see someone further ahead and conclude they are behind unqualified. This comparison ignores the process. Everyone starts as a beginner. The only difference is who is willing to look inexperienced long enough to improve. Confidence grows in private long before it shows in public. Action also requires identity. When you repeatedly act in a certain way, your brain updates who you believe you are. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wants to change, start seeing yourself as someone who takes action. Identity-based confidence is strong because it is rooted in behavior, not opinion. It is important to understand that confidence is situational. You can be confident in one area and uncertain in another. This does not make you weak. It makes you human. The solution is not to wait for universal confidence, but to build it where it matters through deliberate practice. Fear will always offer logical reasons to wait. It will say you need more preparation, more knowledge, more certainty. Preparation is valuable, but it becomes procrastination when it replaces action. You prepare by doing. Skill is sharpened in motion, not in theory. Confidence grows fastest when you accept the possibility of embarrassment. Growth requires you to risk looking unpolished. If you protect your image too much, you sacrifice progress. The willingness to be seen, trying is a powerful act of courage. Over time, action changes your relationship with fear. Fear no longer feels like a stop sign. It feels like a signal that you are stretching. That shift is transformative. You stop running from discomfort and start using it as direction. If you want confidence, do not search for it. Build it. Take the step you are avoiding. Speak before you feel ready. Try before you feel qualified. Each action is a brick, and confidence is the structure built from those bricks. The more you move, the stronger you become. What you do once does not change your life, but what you do every day quietly shapes who you become. Most people underestimate the power of small actions because they are not dramatic. Look for breakthroughs, big moments, and overnight success, while ignoring the daily behaviors that actually create lasting change. Your habits are the invisible architecture of your future. Every habit is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. When you repeat an action, no matter how small, you reinforce an identity. Skipping the work once may seem harmless, but repeated skipping builds the identity of someone who avoids discomfort. Showing up consistently, even at a low level, builds the identity of someone who follows through. Identity always comes before outcome. Small habits work because they bypass resistance. Your brain resists massive change, but it accepts small steps. When you aim too high too fast, you rely on motivation and willpower, which are limited resources. When you commit to small, repeatable actions, you create progress that feels manageable and sustainable. Consistency matters more than intensity. Doing something at 80% for a long time will always outperform doing something at 100% for time. Life is unpredictable. There will be busy days, low energy days, and difficult seasons. Habits that survive those conditions are the ones that actually change your life. Small act is invisible at first, which is why most people quit early. They do not see immediate results and assume nothing is happening. But progress is happening beneath the surface. Just like physical training, strength builds before it shows. Just like learning, understanding grows before confidence appears. If you stay consistent long enough, the results arrive suddenly, but they were earned slowly. Your environment plays a massive role in habit formation. Willpower is unreliable, but environment is constant. If your surroundings support your goals, good habits become easier and bad habits become harder. This is not about this is the let alone. It is designed. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Habits also shape your self-trust. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you strengthen the belief that you are reliable. You break one. Every time you one, you weaken it. Self-trust is built quietly through daily follow-through, not through big speeches or intentions. It is important to focus on leading indicators, not just results. Results are lagging indicators that show up after the work has been done. Habits after leading indicators. They are the actions you can control today. When you focus on habits, you stop chasing outcomes and start building foundations. People often wait for life to calm down before building better habits, but life never fully calms down. Waiting for perfect conditions is another form of delay. The real skill is building habits that can survive chaos, simple habits, flexible control habits, habits that adapt rather than break. Over time, small habits create massive transformation, not because they're reliable. Because they are reliable, they turn effort into identity and identity into results. If you want to change your life, stop focusing on what you want to achieve and start focusing on what you will repeat, because what you repeat becomes who you are. Growth is never comfortable. Growth people assume that progress should feel easy, that success should come with immediate satisfaction, and that change should happen without struggle. That is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid the hard truth. Real growth is uncomfortable because it requires breaking patterns, confronting weaknesses, and pushing past the limits you once accepted as permanent. Discomfort is the signal that you are stretching, that you're doing something that matters, and that you are stepping into a version of yourself that does not yet exist. Pain is temporary, but regret lasts forever. Many people avoid discomfort because it feels unpleasant in the moment, but that avoidance compounds over years. They trade a few minutes of effort for a lifetime of mediocrity. The moments you resist are exactly the moments that define you. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you delay your own potential. The cost of inaction is higher than the pain of effort. Most people fail to embrace discomfort because they have been conditioned to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Society tells us that happiness is the ultimate goal and that struggle is a sign of failure. That mindset keeps people small. Real growth myself believes that happiness is a byproduct of progress and struggle is the vehicle that drives it. You do not avoid pain to be happy. You endure it to become stronger, wiser, and more capable. Discomfort also exposes limits, not to break you, but to expand you. Every time you reach the edge of what you thought you could handle, you discover that your capacity is greater than imagined. The brain adapts to challenge. The body grows stronger with stress, and character develops in the crucible of difficulty. Without these moments, potential remains unrealized. If you want to change your life, you must redefine your relationship with discomfort. Stop seeing it as an enemy to be avoided. Start seeing it as a guide, a marker of where growth is happening. Every challenge, every uncomfortable moment is an opportunity to become a larger version of yourself. The pain you feel today is preparing you for the life you want tomorrow. Discomfort is unavoidable if you aim for excellence, and learning to lean into it is the defining skill of high achievers. The more willing you are to endure it, the faster you grow and the more impact you create. Choosing growth over comfort is not easy, but it is the only path to meaningful transformation, and the only way to ensure that years from now you look back without regret. No one is coming to save you, and most spend lives waiting for someone to arrive and fix their problems. They wait for opportunities, for mentors, for luck, for validation, for someone else to provide permission to step forward. That waiting is the reason most dreams die quietly. The harsh truth is that you are responsible for your own life, and that responsibility is not a burden. It is freedom, because it means you have control over your own outcomes. When you accept that no one will come to save you, you stop relying on external circumstances and start relying on yourself. You stop blaming the world for your current situation and start asking what you can do to change it. This shift in mindset is profound because it replaces helplessness with empowerment. Once you realize that you are the author of your life story, you gain the ability to dependence on others for change creates weakness. You feel safe when someone else is guiding you, but the moment they're gone, so is your progress. True power comes from self-reliance. It comes from taking action before anyone tells you is okay, before anyone encourages you, and before conditions feel perfect. It comes from doing what needs to be done, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it is uncertain, and even when no one is watching. Freedom is not passive. Taking responsibility does not mean waiting for life to improve. It means creating improvement. Every day you make decisions that shape your life. What you read, who you spend time with, what you focus on, and what you practice, these are the levers you control. Stop hoping for rescue. Start manipulating these levers with intention. No one is coming to save you, and most spend lives waiting for someone to arrive and fix their problems. They wait for opportunities, for mentors, for luck, for validation, for someone else to provide permission to step forward. That waiting is the reason most dreams die quietly. The harsh truth is that you are responsible for your own life, and that responsibility is not a burden. It is freedom, because it means you have control over your own outcomes. When you accept that no one will come to save you, you stop relying on external circumstances and start relying on yourself. You stop blaming the world for your current situation and start asking what you can do to change it. This shift in mindset is profound because it replaces helplessness with empowerment. Once you realize that you are the author of your life story, you gain the ability to dependence on others for change creates weakness. You feel safe when someone else is guiding you, but the moment they're gone, so is your progress. True power comes from self-reliance. It comes from taking action before anyone tells you is okay, before anyone encourages you, and before conditions feel perfect. It comes from doing what needs to be done, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it is uncertain, and even when no one is watching. Freedom is not passive. Taking responsibility does not mean waiting for life to improve. It means creating improvement. Every day you make decisions that shape your life. What you read, who you spend time with, what you focus on, and what you practice, these are the levers you control. Stop hoping for rescue. Start manipulating these levers with intention. Most people fear responsibility because it removes excuses. When you rely on someone else, you can blame them if things go wrong. When you rely on yourself, there is no one to blame. That fear is understandable, but it is limiting. Growth and impact are impossible without ownership. Responsibility is the price of freedom, and freedom is the platform for achievement. No one is coming to save you, but that is also liberating because it means your results are not determined by anyone else. You do not need permission. You do not need luck, and you do not need to wait for approval. Everything you need to succeed, your mindset, your habits, your willingness to act is already within you. Stop waiting. The moment you start moving, everything changes. Being self-reliant cannot seek advice, support, or collaboration. It means you do not outsource your power. You listen, you learn, and you grow, but you do not give someone else control over your life. You act, adjust, and persistent through this process, you become unstoppable. The world will not slow down while you wait. Opportunities pass, time moves, and life unfolds whether you participate or not. Every delay, every hesitation is a silent choice to stay where you are. When you accept that no one is coming to save you, you stop hesitating. You stop negotiating with fear. You stop waiting for life to be easier and start becoming stronger, smarter, and more capable. Self-reliance also builds confidence. Every time you take responsibility for your outcomes, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Every problem you solve independently strengthens in your own power. Over time, this builds resilience, courage, and clarity, and these qualities compound into a life of impact. Your life is yours to shape. No one else is accountable for your growth, your success, or your happiness. No one is coming, no one is saying to save you is not depressing. It is energizing because it means you are free to create without permission, to act without fear, and to build a life that is fully your own. The sooner you embrace that truth, the faster you transform your potential into reality. Every moment you wait for the right time to start is a moment you get to someone else's clock. Most people delay action because they are waiting for clarity, for the perfect conditions, for inspiration to strike, or for fear to disappear. That waiting is the silent thief of potential. The truth is that readiness is a myth. Life will never be perfectly aligned. The path will always be messy, the circumstances imperfect, and the uncertainty unavoidable. The only way to create results is to start now imperfectly and adjust as you go. Your time is now because life is moving forward with or without you. Opportunities are passing, ideas are slipping away, and the seconds you waste waiting can never be recovered. The universe does not pause for hesitation, and people wait for the perfect moment often look back with regret at what they did not attempt. Time itself is neutral, but what you choose to do with it determines everything. Procrastination is the enemy of potential. It disguises itself as preparation, caution, or rational thinking, but it is really fear of judgment, fear of discomfort. Every time you delay, you reinforce the belief that you cannot handle uncertainty, and that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy as the antidote to fear, because movement creates momentum, and momentum's what builds confidence and clarity. Starting now does not mean you need a perfect plan. It means you need direction and the courage to step forward. The first step may be small, that you're tentative. You learn by doing. You refine extraction. You refine by trying. You discover what works and what does not. Every great achievement begins with a first imperfect step, repeated consistently. Waiting for perfect conditions ensures that first step never happens. Your mindset shapes your ability to act. When you believe that your time is now, fear becomes a signal, not a stop sign. Discomfort becomes a guide, not a barrier. Every challenge encountered on the journey is an opportunity to grow stronger, smarter, and more resilient. The person who acts today, even without perfect conditions, compounds small gains into massive transformation over time. The world rewards those who act decisively. People who step forward create opportunities, attract collaborators, and generate momentum that others cannot replicate. Waiting does not create leverage. Hesitation produces regret. The difference between those who achieve extraordinary results and those who do not is rarely talent, luck, or intelligence. It is willingness to act consistently, decisively, and boldly, even when circumstances are uncertain. Action also teaches lessons that cannot be learned any other way. Theory, advice, and planning are limited. You cannot float as possible. Understand what are some limits in reality. Until you failure, every success, every adjustment becomes data. That data is invaluable because it informs your next step and accelerates growth. Waiting for certainty deprives you of the most important teacher experience. Time is finite. Each day lost waiting is a day closer to the life you could have had slipping away. Your potential is not promised, and the years you waste in indecision cannot be reclaimed. Choosing to start now is choosing to take ownership of your life, your growth, and it is a declaration that you will not let circumstances, fear, or delay determine your outcomes. Your time is now because it always has been. There is no future moment that will feel perfect. There is only the present, and how you use it will shape the rest of your life. Start today, start messy, start afraid, but start. The sooner you step forward, the sooner momentum begins, the sooner growth accelerates, and the sooner the life you want moves from possibility to reality. Every second counts, every choice matters, and the power to change is entirely in your hands. In conclusion, your time is not a distant promise. It is this very moment, and everything you want begins with the choices you make today. Waiting for permission, clarity, motivation, or the perfect conditions only steals the life you're capable of creating. Responsibility, action, discipline, and persistence are the levers that turn potential into reality. Fear, failure, and discomfort are not obstacles. They are the signals that growth is happening, and confidence, self-trust, and resilience are built in the process of moving forward despite them. Every small action you take compounds, every habit you form shapes your identity, and every decision you make determines the trajectory of your life. The life you dream of is not achieved by waiting, hoping, or avoiding challenge. It is earned by stepping into uncertainty, embracing discomfort, learning relentlessly, and refusing to be defined by limitations. Your time is now, and the power to change your life has always been in your hands. Step forward, act boldly, and become the person who turns possibility into reality.